Hey everybody who's watching this video. I'm Tyler Ellison, and I wanted to talk to you guys about something I've been doing every day that personally I feel is benefiting my health, my mental well-being, my energy levels, as well as my emotional states. Now, what I'm talking about here is nothing more than actually doing specialized techniques and practices revolving around drinking water. So we all know that water purity is a very, very big thing. It's good to make sure your water is as close to nature as it can be. Doesn't have synthetic or man-made added impurities to it. So just heavy metals, prescription drugs, fluoride, chlorine, which all the way is present in water that comes out of the faucet. But what I'm talking about here is also making sure that the water you're drinking is also spiritually charged. Now, there's a lot of people who might hear that and be like, what are you talking about? Now, the easiest way I can explain this to people that aren't very into the metaphysical movement is simple as this. Water actually has a crystalline structure to it, and it has the ability to retain information. And this also has been verified. There were a series of experiments done throughout the 90s by a fellow named Dr. Emoto. I had to look that up real quick, who literally actually took physical things such as words and ideas, music, and kind of split them up into two different categories. One was positive, one was negative. And the idea is one word would have a self-empowering positive meaning to it. And he would expose the water to that, and he would then photograph the crystalline structure of the water. And he would do the same thing for ideas, songs, words that had what people would call a destructive or segregative, fear-based energy to it. And he would then photograph the water. What he found was that uplifting, beautiful music, positive, encouraging words, sacred words, from ancient texts and different mantras, which are prayers in different cultures, would literally geometrically transform the shape of the water into beautiful, almost snowflake-like crystalline structures that had a order to them and an intelligence to them. And just looking at it, it looks like the most amazing thing. The photographs are online. It's Dr. Emoto's water tests. And what he also did too was he took the idea of negative or fear-based comments and ideas and photographed those, like I said before. And what he found was that the image of the crystalline structures when photographed in the water would literally be randomized, grotesque, disorderly, chaotic in their appearance. They would form out of what looked like a state of pure disharmony. So this is just right here, science beginning to scratch the surface of what our mentalities, what our energy actually does. So this is the effect on water that's happening externally. This is, the idea of like what's happening if you were to place a sacred symbol around your water. It would actually begin to work with the crystalline structure of it in that way. Something to keep in mind here, though, from his study, we can deduct is if that sort of mentality and that sort of energy is actually able to change the shape of the water, the structure of the water's crystals. Imagine what that's doing to our bodies. Because our bodies are about, I forget the exact amount, about 70% water. So that means that when we are existing in states of disharmony and negativity, that is actually affecting the way water functions in our bodies. So I wanted to throw that out there. So this is an idea of what I mean by making sure our water has a spiritual health to it, a spiritual quality to it. Literally charging our water with positive intention can actually structurally, measurably make a difference in the water. And this, I think, is fascinating. I think this is very, very exciting and very fun to be talking about. So to explore this a little bit further, what else can we do to make sure our water is spiritually charged and in alignment with nature as much as it can be? So there are two other things we can do to actually make sure our water is, in this sense, fully aligned with its original, its Renaissance structure. And one thing is, if, from what I understand, water in nature does not flow like water in pipes. Water in our tap water pipes flows primarily linearly. It goes straight, it bends, it juts. It reaches these 90-degree angles and it will turn to make it through the piping system. Water, when looked at in nature, does not actually move like that. From what I understand, water in nature actually spirals as it moves. It flows in that sort of spiral-like manner. Now, what this means is, according to a few scientists from what I understand, and also yogic practitioners, when water comes out of the tap and it's drank in right away, the water has been going through these 90-degree bends to eventually reach your faucet. And the idea is that these 90-degree bends are consistently influencing the shape of the water molecules. And when molecules have a different structure, a different shape than they typically do, and again, this is just my understanding, the idea is that they don't function the same in your body. So when the molecules are structurally out of alignment, that translates into an effect for your own system. So in yoga, what they do is they actually let the water sit for a period of an hour. And the idea is that through the water sitting and not moving, it is able to realign itself and reshape its molecules, structure them back into a way that is in alignment. And again, this is just my understanding. So please, if you feel like you must bash what I'm saying, please go ahead and do so. But then again, this is purely my research based on what other people are saying and my own experiments upon myself. So just keep that in mind. So the idea is to allow for the water to sit for an hour if you're drinking tap water, or if you're using tap water in a purification system. Let the water sit for a while. And once it's sat for an hour, it will be just about structurally where it normally is. And something else I actually discovered too, this is the second item I wanted to bring up, is that electromagnetic fields actually have an effect on water. Now, we human beings have our own electromagnetic fields. We're constantly radiating electricity. We are, an electrical system essentially. Our nervous system, for example, and even our heart is all powered by one of the ways it's powered is by electricity. And the idea is much of our appliances are also, as you know, powered by electricity. So they too have a literal field that we, because of our limited vision, are unable to detect. So these fields, we have them, our appliances have them, and recent studies have actually shown that these fields have identifiable, verifiable, and observable effects upon living organisms as well as water. This is actually happening. There's been studies done that used seeds and germinated them with water, distilled water actually, best water ever, that is and was exposed to high levels of, actually not even high levels, moderate levels of man-made EMF fields. And what they found was that the effects actually changed the way the water was used by the plants, by the seeds rather. The seeds actually underwent their process differently than they normally do. It didn't happen in a way that traditionally happens in nature. So what this means is that electromagnetic fields are actually affecting the way systems, organisms are able to actually take in water and use the water they're taking in. So this was just one study that has been done that has shown that effect. But this is also true because this is also true for us in the sense that our bodies are also made up of water, as I mentioned before. So when we have cell phones on us, when we are surrounded in EMF fields, that same thing is happening to our water. It's structurally changing the water. And therefore, because it's structurally different, it's it's being used by the body in a different way than naturally occurring, or a natural situation would. Now, even furthermore, I'm watching my roommate tiptoe by me. It's somewhat distracting, but I'll let him do it because I have no choice. He's already over there. So to take it even further, These are just some of the things, the big no-nos that exist, that we can actually avoid doing to allow for the water we're drinking to be structurally in alignment. So just to recap, letting the water sit if you're taking it from the tap for about an hour to allow for the water molecules to reassemble themselves in a natural way, as well as keeping the water away from electromagnetic fields, as well as keeping electromagnetic fields away from yourself. So now we get to the fun part. Now that we know what not to do with water, what can we do with water to ensure that it's spiritually charged? And I use the word spiritual here in an open sense. Feel free to view spiritual, non-physical, metaphysical, whatever you want to call it, in whatever sort of spectrum, range, or definition you want to put on it. Because by no means is any definition the right definition. It just happens to be the one I use. So when I say spiritual, I mean, for myself, invisible, metaphysical attributes to something that have implications upon the physical world. That's what I mean when I say spiritual. So how do we bring that idea of spiritual into our water and therefore have a positive physical effect for us, as well as mental and psychological and emotional effect too, because the whole system's interrelated. So what can we do? Well, we know from Dr. Emoto's studies that we can actually charge the water. The water is able to retain this energy. Now, some things you can do, and this is actually what I do, I actually use crystals to charge the water. There are many people out there that believe, myself included, that crystals actually have a ability to emit types of energy, types of metaphysical energy that yields a specific effect upon the physical world, depending, of course, on certain circumstances and the openness of the individual. Now, the idea is that you can find crystals that you feel attracted to, and you can use these to charge the water. And you can actually make a grid around the water. Let's say you have water from the tap, you want to let it sit for a while. Literally, you can take a grid of crystals, and you can look up on the internet how to do this, and make a crystal grid around it. And the idea is this grid will be sending the crystal's energy into the water consistently, in a bit of like how a circuit works, where the energy would be continuously going in there. It's like a battery that doesn't ever exhaust itself. And you can place your water in the center of this grid and have the crystals sending their energy to it. And the idea is, because water has this ability to take in energy, if you're taking something that has a spiritual intelligence to it, like crystals, you can actually charge the water with this. And the idea is you let it sit there for as long as you want to. The longer the longer the better, having the water placed in the grid, because it means that the energy is having more time to work with the water. So that's just one thing you can do. Other things that are entirely possible is to actually take sacred symbols. When I say sacred symbols, I literally am just referring to what many people call sacred geometry, the type of geometry that's fractal in its nature, and that exists in ancient cultures, particularly at different sacred sites, or ancient sites, for people that are a little like, what's sacred mean? So taking these symbols and literally placing them on the water. So the idea would be drawing the symbol onto a glass jar, or maybe getting a sticker or a decal and literally putting that on the glass jar, and let the water sit in the jar in this crystal grid, and you'll have the energies from the crystal charging the water and the symbol itself charging the water too. And the longer the better, so just continue to let it sit there. And these are just some of the things you can do. You can play music for the water. You can even think positive thoughts while holding the water. You can pray to the water. You can do anything you want. And the idea is that your energy is literally, your consciousness is literally transforming the quality and the structure of the water, which again, based on Dr. Emoto's studies, is doable. 100% doable. So what I'm telling you here is experiment, have fun. Literally, you can hold your water and just think nice thoughts while holding it, and then drink it. If you even want to just do that, that is fine. So these are the effects of positively charging your water. It changes the structure. and then you take it in and your body uses it, and it helps you stay hydrated. It helps your body remain fluid and allows for your cells to do the jobs they need, which thus in return allows for you to do the things you need to do or want to do in a much more fun, empowered, and stable way. So I hope you guys found this video enthusiastic and informative. You can look up the studies. Dr. Emoto's study is verifiable. Ironically, there are no scientific studies on the effects of crystals in terms of their ability to positively affect people. Although if you search throughout the world, throughout time, you will find that crystals have existed side by side with mankind literally since the dawn of civilization. You can go back to Mesopotamia. These things have been used for healing and uplifting qualities even since, our earliest recorded history that we know of. So I encourage you just to experiment and have fun. I can say for myself, some of the effects I know is I can literally feel, I would say, better, more aware, more present, more content as a whole, and my health does feel much better from drinking water that is of this quality and of this nature too. I think it's very fun, and that in of itself, just having fun with it, is all the more reason to try it, and it does in and of itself add benefits to it as well, just having fun with doing something like this. So my name is Tyler Ellison. This is my video on how to spiritually charge your water, and let me know what you guys think. If you guys actually try this out, please feel free to respond to me, comment, do whatever you want to. I'd love to hear feedback because I know it's a fun thing to do and it works well for me. So enjoy, everybody. Take care.